Audio Jungle.
What's up guys? So you've already seen our video on how to change your damper rods out. We have it up for a Sportster. The process is the same for a dyno with slightly different tools. Today we're going to show you how and why you need our Cartridge Eliminator Kit on Lowrider S models and also some iron models. So at this point you have your forks off your bike and we're getting ready to go over what components you're going to need and also just a little bit of how and why it is that you want to do this. So we have a new set of springs, which you're gonna need. We'll show you why in a few. These specific springs are progressive, but any brand spring will work. We have our dampers with our Cartridge Eliminator Kit, 2 quarts of fluid, forks. So one thing to note here is the difference in bolts. This is going to be for the damper side, which is a 12 we have here. This is the cartridge side, which is an 8. So this bolt you will no longer need. This bolt we're going to use again. So now we are going to pull our upper and lower apart. If you've ever done fork seals, you know this process well. If you haven't, it's very easy. We're just going to do a quick outline real quick. First things first, we have to get the stock caps off. So now we're gonna remove our dust seals, which are these upper seals. You just take a flat blade screwdriver and just kind of work it in there. Try not to rip it. This isn't actually the one holding back any oil, but still. We're gonna just work those out, work your way around that. Pop those out. We'll just set those to the side. We're gonna use those later. So next, there's this little wavy clip in here that we need to pull out. There's an end that isn't connected. So start with the little lip closest to that and just work your way around getting that out. We're gonna take that guy out, hold on to that. Pop that out of both sides here. So now we're gonna separate, now that everything's out of the way, we're gonna separate our upper and lower. We're gonna start with the cartridge side, which on a factory model would always be your left side while sitting on the bike. Now that all these clips are out, they just, when you get them, you'll feel that they have a stop there. You just, so there's that. One thing to pay attention to is that underneath this, there's going to be a piece inside that you don't wanna misplace. This little cap guy. Now we'll pull apart our other side. Same process, even though this is the side with the damper. This one the cap's stuck on. Now that the lower and upper is separated, now is where you're gonna start seeing some differences. So this is our cartridge side. Pretty obvious difference from the damper side, which is here. Also, one thing to note is that these are different. So our kit comes with another one of these to replace this. So the cap that was on the cartridge side is no longer going to be needed. Leave that to the side. You're gonna reuse this one for this. But to see why these are different, they don't fit. They just aren't snug. So we go ahead and replace that to the factory one that fits nice and snug. So now we're gonna remove our top cap. On the damper side, be careful, it's going to be under pressure. If you've ever changed your fork springs, you know. A little trick that I use to keep them from flying everywhere is I'll take a rag and I will hold this here. Then we'll get on there with our tool. And then I'll take the rag and I'll actually hold it around the entire piece itself. And just kind of hold it loosely like this, and you'll see as to why in just one sec. Now, it kept everything from flying across the fucking room. As you can see, this giant spacer, which is actually going to be changed now since we're changing the springs. So you're not gonna need this guy anymore. Go ahead and hold on to your top cap. Definitely gonna wanna reuse that. Then go ahead and remove your stock spring. And now we're stuck with a tube with a stock damper. So go ahead and just flip this over, get that damper out. You're gonna wanna maintain this rebound spring here as well. We're not gonna need this stock damper anymore, but you do wanna save the stock piston ring that goes on there. So now, we're gonna do our cartridge side. Just leaking a little bit more. So now this one, you're gonna notice there is no pressure underneath here, so you can just go ahead and zip this off. So now that that's off, you'll note the whole unit is one piece. So this whole thing is gonna come out. Quite a bit different from the other side. This being the piece that we're going to eliminate, everything here is gonna be gotten rid of except the top cap. So the way that we're gonna do that is use a wrench at the top here. Not a 1/2 inch, it's a 9/16. So now we're gonna separate our top cap from our cartridge. And you don't really need to worry about anything here. There's a collar here holding everything together. So you're just gonna use a 9/16 wrench, go onto the, and then pull the top off. Same way as you would, just hold the wrench, and just zip that guy off. We're gonna hold on to this. Now the only difference between this top cap and the other one is that it's got a threaded hole in it for the cartridge. Not gonna make a difference, we'll just reuse that. We're gonna put this guy where it belongs. In the fucking trash. So in the kit, you're gonna get a new cap that mimics our stock cap that we had. You're gonna get a new spring that mimics our stock spring that we had. A new piston ring. 2 new fork seals. Red Bull sponsorship. If you're watching this, hook us up. So, now we're gonna take our piston rings, we're gonna add those to our new dampers, like so. So, don't be alarmed that they're different, they do the same thing. These springs, where these go, is on top of the damper, like so. Then we have these. Now the whole reason for having to even separate the upper and the lower is so that you can change this in the cartridge side. The damper side technically didn't even need to come apart, but I wanted to show you the difference and I wanted to change the fork seal at the same time. Since we have 2, it's always better to just do them together. We're just gonna clean this guy up. We're gonna start our reassembly. So, take and use our tube. We're gonna drop our damper in there. Get that guy to come through. So there we have our damper. Same on this side. Slip that in. Get that guy to come through. So now we have 2 damper rod forks instead of that cartridge. On the stock damper, don't be alarmed that there are more holes in different variations. They tune this to work with the cartridge. You're not gonna need to worry about any of that. And then we're gonna get rid of our stock spring from the other side. So now on your tube, you're gonna have an upper bushing here, lower bushing here, washer. You're gonna wanna maintain all of this and ditch your old fork seals. Make sure and just throw those away now so that you don't get them confused with your new one. Now we're gonna slap the springs in temporarily and we'll show you why in just a sec. Now when you're putting in a progressively wound spring, you always wanna put the tighter winding down. So we're gonna slip these in here. Slip this in here. And then we are going to slide our lowers in. Now we're not gonna wanna put the fork seals onto the tubes just yet, and I'll show you why in just a second. So now we're gonna slide our caps onto the dampers. We're gonna take our lowers, slide those onto here. Now the reason we do this sideways is that you don't want the cap to fall off. So now we're gonna thread our cap in so that we can get our bottom bolt into the damper. Just go ahead and put that up there. You don't even need to go in all the way, just enough that you can get some spring pressure on there. Now, the bushing and the washer are gonna fall off at this point. Don't worry about those at the moment. We'll just set those to the side. And what we like to do here is, at this point now the bolts are the same, so it doesn't matter which one gets what. Just make sure you use a new crush washer. We're gonna slide that in there. Go ahead and drop that in. Now the reason we're putting the spring and the cap in already is that in order to tighten this and have it not spin, there needs to be some pressure against it. So what we'll do is we'll just lean against it, push down, maybe. Go ahead and get that guy snug. So now the tube can't come back out. We'll set that one to the side and we'll repeat the process for the other side. Slide that guy in there. So our bushing and washer that came back off, gonna go back in now. We're gonna go bushing first, then washer. What you're gonna see here is that the bushing falls in. See the little gap in between the leg and the tube? The bushing is gonna go into that. Now you're gonna have to knock that in with the driver, so that's where the washer comes in. The washer is a piece, but we use that as like a stop for this. So now, we're gonna take our tool, fork seal driver we have here. This one's a Motion Pro split in half. We have those on the site as well as our own that we'll be coming out with here shortly. But we're gonna go ahead and just knock this bushing in. You can tell the difference in sound and know when it's in all the way. So now, we'll show you the difference there as far as what that looks like. So now only the washer's gonna come out. Maybe. You know what, the washer's not even gonna come out, so that's okay. But as you can see, everything is in there together now. So now it is time to add our seal. So when you go to do this, you just gotta be careful. We'll get our cap out of the way. You just wanna be careful not to cut anything, to make something leak prematurely. So when you do it, we just kind of work it around. There are tools out there that are made to go over here. You could put a little bit of oil, but if you're careful, it'll be fine. Just work it around the edge, slide that guy down. Now, we're going to knock our fork seal in. It's easier to set it on a hard surface. After our fork seal goes our clip. We use the tool to settle that in too. Just kind of work that around, make sure both the edges are in, and then we'll just take our fork seal driver, just give that guy a little tap in there. Just visually look, make sure it's in the groove. As long as everything's good there, we're gonna take our dust seal, add that guy back in there. Same, this one you can usually just get in by hand. So now we're in on that. We'll add our dust, our beauty covers later. So now at this point, all we need to do is put the springs, fluid, tighten down the top cap, be down the road. You can check that out in our other video that covers installing the dampers. But otherwise, this is how you put the cartridge eliminator in and why you need it. Thanks, guys.